Hi, everybody. I'm Justin McElroy, editor-at-large for Polygon.com. I'm joined by my colleague and brother, Griffin McElroy.
Hey.
And we're also joined simultaneously across this great country of ours by Colin Campbell, a foreigner who we've welcomed onto our shores to tell us about No Man's Sky.
Which is appropriate.
Which is appropriate,
The game's all about
it's on travel,
otherworldly specimens.
wanderlust. Colin, how was your demo? You sat and watched a demo. How'd that go?
It was really interesting because we've been looking forward to playing this game since it was first shown in 2013, and one of the reasons why we're so interested in it is because it looks gorgeous. They've sold it to us as this huge world, this endless universe that you can explore to your heart's content, and it's got to the point now where we're like, okay, fine, let's have a look at it. What does it actually do? What it does is a lot of the things that you expect from space exploration games. You get in a spaceship, you go find a planet, and then you go down to the planet and you wander around and you shoot aliens and you collect stuff and you buy new spaceships and you get into a spaceship and, repeat. So I got 30 minutes with it, and I guess the jury's still out. It looks like it's fun. It looks like I might enjoy it. But if what it ends up being is this sort of place where you've got 6 or a dozen planets, all kind of, a million planets that all look pretty much the same, then I don't think it's going to be that awesome. But at the moment, I still feel good about it.
You mentioned shooting other aliens and stuff. That so far, based on everything we've seen, that hasn't seemed like the biggest factor, I guess, for No Man's Sky. And I was actually kind of surprised when they showcased the game during the Sony press conference and there was a big space battle going on. And that seemed to, I don't know, rub up against this idea of No Man's Sky I've had of this serene sort of exploration and wildlife cataloging game. Did you get a feel for like how big of an emphasis there's going to be on combat?
Well, I was in an area of the game where there's quite a lot of population. There's a big trading post, a big space station. So as you would expect, there was a big military presence. I made the mistake, or the demo person made the mistake of shooting an alien creature, just a piece of wildlife that was being irritating. And that brought down a lot of alien bots. And we shot the alien bots and it brought down more alien bots. So it seems to me that if you're in a place where there is a lot of these sentinels, then there's a fair chance that you're going to run up against them. It was a bit like a Grand Theft Auto game or a Need for Speed game where there's a certain amount of heat on you, and if you want to avoid that, then you need to get out and get out into a part of the universe where there aren't a lot of aliens. But I got the impression, I only got 30 minutes with it, but I got the impression that you can kind of create your own adventure in this game, in that if you want to sort of disappear into the quiet places and just go look for flora and fauna and catalog it and earn your money that way, you can do that. There's a lot of searching around and finding loot and mining crystals and becoming more wealthy and therefore more powerful that way. We didn't play much of the space combat stuff, which I'm interested in seeing, but I imagine that would be pretty much as you would expect. So it's an interesting game. I wonder how interesting, finding your 750th planet and it laying claim to it is going to actually be. And I suspect that what this game will end up being is a space exploration game of the sort that we've seen. There's quite a lot of crafting going on. There's a whole periodic table of chemicals that you discover, and you can use these chemicals to craft more valuable things, and I'm looking forward to seeing more about that as well.
Yeah, that sounds super interesting. I guess based on everything I've seen, I just kind of assumed it would be this sort of quiet, just look around game, but the idea of crafting and there being this rich economy to it is kind of surprising.
Colin, do you think they might have done themselves a disservice by rolling this game out so slowly and giving people, like as Griffin's illustrating, sort of time to come up in their head with what they think the game will be like?
I don't think they've done themselves a disservice because they're a fairly unfashionable developer. They introduced this game in this really interesting looking world.
When you say unfashionable, were they poorly dressed when you were talking to them?
Well, they're British for a start, so there is that. But they haven't come out with a monster hit before, or a game that's attracted this much attention. So when they brought this game out, it attracted the attention of some very big players like Sony. But now that the attention is on them, that they've got a big company as a sugar daddy, that now it's time to actually deliver. And I think this E3 is a big part of that process, where journalists are actually getting down to look at the game and are making some judgments. I think they've had a very generous ride so far, and it's with the game possibly coming out in 2015, it's time for people to be a little bit more analytical and critical.
Did you get any sense the planets are procedurally generated, correct?
That's right.
Did you get any sense of a sort of arc for the game, an end game that you can work towards, or is it
a boss planet or something like that?
Yeah, right, exactly. How do you know when it's over?
No, I didn't get any sense of that. I know that in the game you can sort of work your way towards the center of the universe, and there is a clear progression towards that, and you unlock, obviously you have to unlock abilities along the way. But I think that what they want you to do is explore, and there is a lot of opportunity to do that. I was on 2 different planets. They look very different from each other. On each of the planets, there was ocean that you could explore as well, and the planets aren't just the same all over. You get onto a planet, you scan it. There are a lot of points of interest that pop up, and you go and look at those things and see what you can find, see what you can discover.
Did you feel that sense of ownership? I feel like that's something that they've really stressed is there are going to be a lot of planets you go to, and that's Colin's planet. This is Colin Prime is the name of this planet. Did you feel like you would get that sense of ownership from the exploration of the game based on the demo that you did?
I'm not sure. I mean, the planets that we were on weren't planets that I had discovered. I get a sense that even when you do discover a planet, you're discovering it for, I guess, the human race or whatever you are, because these sentinels, these aliens, are already there. So it's not as if you're putting your foot down on this place that has never been touched before. And I think that if there are so many planets in the universe, I wonder how special it is for you to find one and lay claim to it. But we'll see. That wasn't really a part of the demo that we saw here at E3.
That was kind of a dark existential take on the universe, Colin. I wasn't ready for that.
Whew. I need to catch my breath, and in the interim, while I do that, we will say goodbye to you, Colin. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Thank you to you, Griffin. Thank you to watching at home. We got a lot more coverage on Polygon.com. Much of it will be written by Colin Campbell himself, I'm sure.
Including his preview of this game, which is aptly titled, So, What Happens in No Man's Sky? Which is very to the point. But thanks for watching, and stay tuned. We'll have more E3 coverage throughout the week.